Hello everyone. I hope all of you are in good health. So I welcome all of you to the Gazette discussion of 7th July 2021, in which we'll be covering our featured news for today. And the featured news that we have covered for today is a revamped distribution sector scheme, a very important scheme, an important scheme for your mains perspective. And this is a scheme that was recently approved by Union Cabinet. Now, Union Cabinet has approved a reforms-based and result-oriented revamped distribution sector scheme. In short, we can call it RDSS, Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme. So there are a lot of provisions of the scheme. So let us look at it one by one. So what are the features? Number one, objectives of the scheme. So the objective of the scheme is reduction of AT&C losses. When the discoms, the distribution companies, they get the energy, they get the electricity through these lines, they have a lot of theft, a lot of technical losses between that transportation of the energy. So because of that, there are AT&C losses, and we have these AT&C losses are about 20% right now, and we are planning to bring it down to 12 to 15% by 2024 to 25. So that is the deadline. By 2025, this AT&C losses have to be reduced to 15 to 12%. Now we have reduction of average cost of supply and average revenue realized. That means the cost of discoms and the revenue that they realize, there is a big gap. There is a big gap. That is, the cost is very, very high and the revenue is quite low. Fine. So when the cost is high and revenue is low, but natural, you are going to see losses. You are going to see a lot of losses. So discoms are the weakest link in our energy sector because of these losses. So we want to bring this gap between the cost and the revenue to zero. We want to bring it to the zero, and that is your zero by 2024-25. So reduction of average cost of supply and average revenue realized, this gap has to be reduced to zero by 2025. Then developing institutional capabilities for modern discoms. They should have institutional systems approach to energy transformation. Then we have scheme would be available till 2025-26. 2026 is the year up till which the scheme will be available, and the nodal agency for this entire RDSS scheme has been nominated Rural Electrification Corporation along with Power Finance Corporation, that is REC and PFC. These are the nominated nodal agencies for facilitating the implementation of the scheme. Number two, the funding. The scheme will have an outlay of 3,03,000 crores. Close to 3,03,000 crores is an scheme outlay of this particular scheme. This is the money that will be funded, and the gross budgetary support from the central government will be 97,600 crores. 97,600 crores is the gross budgetary support from the central government. Along with that, it is proposed that in Jammu Kashmir there are ongoing approved projects for this particular electrification, like we have IPDS, that is Integrated Power Development Program. Then we have DDUGJY, that is your Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. And then we have PMDP, that is your Pradhan Mantri Development Program, Prime Minister Development Program. Now, all these schemes in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, all these schemes will be subsumed under this particular scheme that we have recently discussed. So all these IPDS and PMDP and DDUGJY, these all schemes will be subsumed under this scheme, and the funding for these particular schemes will be continued till 2023. Then we have consumer meters and system meters. So we'll have installed these prepaid smart meters, because we call them smart because we can plan our consumption efficiently. We can actually charge, choose our supplier in case of a multi-supplier system, and we can choose our tariff plan, and there is a prepaid payment for that, and that is efficient utilization of the energy, of the electricity by the consumers. So these prepaid smart meters for all consumers except the agricultural consumers, for all consumers in India, these prepaid smart meters will be installed. Now it will start with 25 crore consumers to be covered under prepaid smart metering, but we have to prioritize the areas. So first of all, we have prioritized the urban areas, and then the union territories, and then we have Amrut cities. Amrut is your Atal mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation. Now this was a mission, Amrut mission, for providing basic civic amenities in towns and cities. These Amrut cities will be prioritized for having these installed smart meters. Then we have high loss areas. That means the areas in which there is a high amount of loss happening in these particular energy transmission. So for these particular areas, they will be prioritized, and the first 10 crore smart meters will be installed by 2023 in these particular areas. Then we have the communicable AMI meters. AMI means your advanced metering infrastructure. So AMI has a dual two-way communication system between the smart utility meter and your utility company. So when you have a two-way communication system, the utility company will be easily able to do the energy accounting for the particular utility meter, smart utility meter. So we'll have in place communicable AMI meters, and they are proposed for all the feeders and distribution transformers. What are these feeders? Feeder is the voltage line from the substation to the transformer. That is your feeder and distribution transformer. So for all these feeders and distribution transformers, we'll have these communicable AMI meters that will get in touch and will have a two-way communication between the smart utility meter and the utility company. So then we have these feeders, the agricultural connections. Mind you, we have excluded the agriculture here. So agricultural connections will be covered under feeder meters. Okay. So the scheme focuses on segregation of the feeders from those lines that are meant for agriculture and for those lines that are meant for households. Fine. So agricultural lines will be separate, and for others that will be separate. So there will be segregation of feeders, and also there will be for these particular segregated feeders now will now enable solarization under KUSUM. Now why? Because now we know that what are the lines and what are the connections for the agricultural purposes, and we would want the KUSUM program to take in to get in and enable the solarization of our agriculture. So what is our KUSUM program? It is your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uttham Maha Abhiyan. That is your KUSUM. Okay, so that will enable the solarization under KUSUM. Then we have modernization of distribution systems. Now modernization, what are these modernization of distribution systems? Now see guys, we need to have annual appraisal of DISCOM performance. DISCOM companies, the distribution companies, we need annual appraisal for these companies. We need to have a predefined trajectory. We need to have a predefined performance trajectory, and we need to have a minimum score that these DISCOMs must achieve to get the funding under this scheme. So we have actually taken this 60% marks. So if they want to get the funding under the scheme, they'll have to get the 60% marks and clear the minimum bar to get the to be enabled for funding against the scheme in that particular year. So smart metering is an important concept. Smart metering is one of the three pillars that are used in the transmission of the global electricity systems, starting from the renewables, pillar 1, then energy storage, pillar 2, and pillar 3 we have smart meter on one side, and on the other side there is annual appraisal of the DISCOM performance. Both combined will actually increase the efficiency in the energy system. Then we have provision for special category states. That means we'll have these special category states and other states. For these special category states, we'll give the states will be granted 1,350 rupees cost per consumer. Fine. And there will be 22.5% of the cost per consumer will be covered by the government and given to these particular states, whichever is the less, whether the 1,350 is less or 22.5% is less, that will be given, whichever is lower, that will be granted to these states. And for other states, 900 will be granted 900 rupees or 15%, whichever is low. So for other states, we have this much of money being allocated to the states, and the other we have 915%. So that is the cost per consumer. Fine. So in addition, discoms can avail an additional special incentive of 50% of the aforementioned grants. If a discom is getting a grant of 100 rupees, it will again get a grant of 50 rupees for actually targeting achieving its target for installation of smart meters by December 2023. So these are special provisions for these states. Then we have another important concept, that is, why have the earlier distribution sector initiatives, why have the earlier electrical schemes actually failed to achieve the success? So before starting that, we should know what were some of the earlier schemes in this sector. We have the Uday scheme, we have the Integrated Power Development Scheme, IPDS, we also have DDU-GJY, which I already told you, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. Then we have NEF, National Electricity Fund. All these earlier initiatives were not able to achieve success. And what are the reasons for that? The reasons are, number one, insufficient monitoring mechanism. We do not have a sufficient monitoring mechanism. The data collection system is poor. We have inadequate metering system, which actually leads to our discoms not being able to do the energy audit, which is very important. And also there is we do not have the control over the demand. There is haphazard control over the demand, that is because we do not have annual appraisals of these particular discoms. Fine. So that leads to loss of revenue and inconvenience to the consumers as well. Then we have accountability and technology issues. Now, the schemes could not actually reduce the AT&C costs. These earlier schemes, they could not reduce the high transmission and distribution losses. They actually could not increase our collection for the discoms. There was low level of collection. Why? Because lack of employees accountability was there. The employer was not accountable. There was inadequate collection facilities. There was limited usage of advanced technology systems like electronic payments, using electronic seva centers, using special centers and cards and electronic payments. This was not used. There was limited usage of these advanced technology systems, and that is why it led to low level of collection for these discoms and high losses. Then we have lack of consumer records. Still, most of the utilities maintain records manually. Fine. That leads to mismatches and losses. We do not have an IT based and communication solutions for this particular system. Now the scheme has put in place the IT and communication solution. Now again there was revenue and expenditure gaps. Now I already told you the revenue was less and the expenditure was more, and the gap was almost 0.49 per unit. 0.49 per unit is a big amount, and there was a higher gap in high income southern states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. This gap was much larger between the cost and the revenue of the discoms. That was another problem. Then we have electrification and support structure mismatch. We were not able to actually address the gap between increasing our electrification and providing related supporting structural mechanism. That means supporting higher levels of electrification with low cost structures, with advanced distribution networks, with transformers and new wires, and which would be augmented to give the user a better experience. So this gap between increasing our electrification and providing the supposed structure for that was a mismatch. So that was another problem that the earlier initiative were not able to handle. Now, how does this new scheme, the revamped distribution sector scheme, try to address that lacunas in our previous schemes? Number one, there is conditional support. That is, if the discom is not able to achieve the predefined target, we will not give them the funding. So that will actually be important. We'll have in set a pre-qualifying criteria, a basic minimum benchmark that the discoms will be evaluated on. Fine. So that is your conditional support. Then we have focus on operational efficiency. Now we need, with the smart metering and upgradation of distribution infrastructure system, with these new technologies being in place, it will actually give us operational efficiency, and that is the focus of this particular scheme. And you must know that if there is only 1% reduction in AT&C losses, it will result in savings up to 50 billion rupees every year for these discoms, distribution companies. So 1% reduction in AT&C loss gives 50 billion rupees of saving to these discoms every year. Then there's saving through feeders. We have these because we have now segregated system. We'll have segregated feeders, and from these non-segregated and household feeders. Now these segregated feeders will lead to solarization of our agriculture that can save up to 140 crore rupees per billion unit of agricultural load met through solarization. Now that is again a very important saving projects, saving our electricity, saving energy by using these solar power techniques. Okay, so that will also help in the reduction of the purchase cost of power by these discoms, and it even increase the collection levels. Then we have thrust on smart metering. This scheme has put a lot of thrust on smart metering and has implemented a public-private partnership mode. Fine. So using this PPP mode, it will enable the consumer empowerment. Fine. Why? Because by having the smart metering, by giving the consumers this right and this option to monitor their electricity consumption on a routine basis. Fine. And they can check their usage. They can even check what time of the day they are using more of the energy. Fine. So that is again a very important concept used by this scheme. Then we have leveraging artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence would be used to analyze the data generated through these information technology and operational technology devices. Okay, now using collected data from these system meters and prepaid smart meters and all these new technologies, we'll gather the data and that will be analyzed by artificial intelligence, which will help the discoms to make informed decisions, which can by which they can reduce their losses. They can even forecast what is going to be the demand in the near future. They can even have the time of the day tariff. That means at some point of the when the demand is high, they can increase the tariff. When the demand is low, they can decrease the tariff. So accordingly, they'll have the TOD tariff system, and they can even have an integration of renewable energy into their own analysis, own systems. Then we have effective monitoring and evaluation. Now with these new technologies and artificial intelligence being used, we need to have a monitoring and evaluation system. For that we have SCADA, that is supervisory control and data acquisition, and we'll have this SCADA in all urban areas. Along with, we'll have third party appropriate third parties that will be appointed by some nodal agency with the help of Niti Aayog. These third parties will be considered as individual investigators to verify these discom achievements, whether these distribution companies have achieved their predefined targets. So we'll have this SCADA in place along with these third parties that will be appointed by the nodal agency in the process of this verifying the discom achievements. Then we have the quality assurance and inspection plan that has to be formulated by these discoms, which will give the comprehensive analysis of their usage and power distribution. And that is all about this scheme. And what is the conclusion? The conclusion is, these power discoms are the weakest link in the electricity value chain. They have low collection. They are plagued by high purchase costs. They are plagued by mounting government dues. And now using this cutting edge technology and having the state government to commit to reduce their losses, we can achieve our sustainable development goal number 7, that is ensuring access to affordable, reliable and sustainable energy for all. So that is all for this particular scheme. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel and share the video and press the bell icon. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.